So, if you're like me and you're paying attention to the latest works of fiction coming out of places like Disney and Hollywood, you notice there may be something up. Some seems off lately. I just can't put my finger on it.
But, oh, that's right. Just go cry to your father, you little weasel.
Yeah, I know I'm late to the boat on most, well, all of these things, but hear me out. This is a problem that's been going on for a while, and it seems to be one that isn't going away. That being the active and intentful murder of heroes and stories. Now, that doesn't mean outright killing off characters, though that too is an issue. I mean the meanings behind certain heroes of our pop culture and certain stories that live within our cultural lexicon, even much older icons in our greater collective mythology, and undermining and bringing them down from within. We can see examples of this with writers and creators deliberately saying they are out to do this. And they always use the same terms in their justification: deconstruction and subversion. Now, these are not new things in writing, far from it, but since at least the mid-80s, some even dating back as the 1940s, there have been those who've been out to deliberately subvert and deconstruct things like truth, justice, the American dream, even outright entire icons and heroes, and the whole idea of heroism in general. And from these work, there seems to be a malicious intent behind it. One need look no further for an example than in Alan Moore's Watchmen. Even though I can agree the story itself is a rather brilliant one, being one of my favorite comics of all time, the foundational element is Moore's disdain for what he saw as a childish fantasy of a superhero, a man who can do no wrong. Instead, he wrote a world that was dark, gritty, and full of things like rape, torture, and drugs, closer to what he believed reality was actually like. And the only character within the world to show any remote semblance of objective morality, that being the ink-blotted noir detective Rorschach, he gets called a loser and a freak, even outright being called by Moore as a total racist who was in the wrong, even if the work itself points to the exact opposite conclusion. Now, I'm not saying Moore was wrong to write The Watchmen, nor will I go into a whole thing about how it had severely negative, albeit possibly unintended consequences to the superhero genre as a whole. Tropes are tools, and they're only as good or as harmful as the person using them. The problem with deconstruction is if you have no intention to build back up afterwards, it's just destruction. Moore only wanted to deconstruct the superhero without putting anything in its place. As a result, he created a comics landscape where writers inadvertently wanted to be rid of superheroes entirely and open the door for political agendas to take their place. It's the intent that matters, and even a brilliant work with a malicious intent will cause more harm than good, as is its purpose. Look no further than Arthur C. Miller, author of such works as Death of a Salesman, A View from a Bridge, and The Crucible. These works in particular were made to deconstruct what Miller himself saw as the American dream, and active attempts to enforce it onto others, like the House Un-American Activities Committee, a committee that's wrongly contributed to Senator John McCarthy, I might add. Now, the intent was clear. Miller himself said so as much. He wanted to tear down America so he can build a more idyllic society in its place, one that adhered to philosophies he believed in, possibly with himself on the top, I might add. Why would he want to be rid of the American dream, you ask? Simple. Arthur Miller was a socialist. In fact, he was a high-ranking socialist within the circles of Hollywood actors and writers unions, which were fronts for the Soviet reunion, as revealed by the declassified documents after the fall of the KGB. In fact, Miller hated American values so much, and get your tinfoil hats for this one, that he emotionally and physically abused his second ex-wife, Marilyn Monroe, for not conforming to his ideals of a socialist dogma, to the point that it would lead her to various drug addictions and eventually her death. This has to be understood. Miller knew what he was doing. He used stories and works of fiction to deconstruct American values and ideals. He knew that fiction was a powerful tool to do this, and so have many others since him. Since the dawn of history, we've always used stories not just as a source of entertainment, but as a means of instilling values onto ourselves, especially onto our children, of how to be good, righteous, and moral people. It is a practice that dates back to the myths and legends of ancient Greece, with glorious heroes like Achilles, Perseus, and Heracles. Stories continued to be told by the Romans once they became the dominant world power. Once the Roman Empire collapsed and Christianity spread through Europe, stories that told of the virtues of Christ were told, like King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table, even to the modern day with Luke Skywalker and Superman being prominent examples. None of these characters were exactly perfect, they all had flaws, but that was sort of the point. They were characters who were supposed to be inspirational figures for us, still fallible human beings, even Superman, but figures we can strive to be like. Nowadays, the main flaws you see in most older heroes is that they are deconstructed and subverted to suit the new social agenda. But can one really say they want to be like Luke of Star Wars The Last Jedi? Why be a sad, washed-up failure who gives up at the slightest thing going wrong when you can be a determined moral hero who never gives up, even in the face of insurmountable odds, to win the day and save the galaxy, and redeem your father's soul in the process? It's unfortunate then that the right side of the aisle when it comes to politics and culture has slept on the importance of stories. Most on the right are not creators, and thus they never saw it as all that practical to care about fiction, as there were more practical issues to deal with. The left always tended towards creativity in the arts, and the right always towards more constructive work like financing constructive, manual labor, and so on. The sad thing is, most fiction written by the left of the day, deified by the right of the present, is vilified by the left of tomorrow. Stories are what make life worth living. This is something the financiers, construction workers, and manual laborers all know. There's nothing better than after a hard week of work to come home, settle in your recliner, pop on the tube, or go to the movies to forget about your stress and woes for a couple of hours. Nowadays, you're more likely to have your stress doubled as you're preached at about why you're the root of all evils in society. And it's specifically because the right has slept on fiction for so long for being foolish dreamer nonsense. A single dream is more important than 1,000 realities. This quote has been misattributed to J.R.R. Tolkien, but it holds true to what the man truly believed. And never let it go unsaid that he, C.S. Lewis, and others of their day were even by today's standards, very deeply conservative. They understood the knowledge that we seemingly lost today, that fictions are our foundation. So what can we do then? We know the game that's being played, but what can we do about it? Well, vote with your wallet. Whenever there's a malicious or deconstructive subversionary work out there, walk away. Ask for a refund if you'd like. If you hear about things that are devoid of these sort of agendas, support them, no matter where they come from. The company that put out The Last Jedi today can put out The Mandalorian tomorrow, as long as it makes money. Show them that it's more financially beneficial to build rather than to deconstruct or destroy. And if you're a creative type, take a crack at putting your own talents to use. I know I've been trying. Who knows? The next Luke Skywalker or King Arthur story may still be yet to be told, and you might be the one to tell it. Well, that's all for today. This has been the Koopa Man. Game on. Hey everyone, I wrote the next video ending skip, but to be honest, I've been changing the order of my planned scripts around so much that even I don't know what's next. Oh well, guess we gotta wait for the surprise.